Hello, man. Starting to feel like I'm getting to know y'all. Uh, all 39,000 of you. So first of all, thanks for all your support. If you just joined us on the Dr. Lynch page recently, then you're up for a real treat. This is not my usual. I'm usually on Facebook twice a week for 2 hours. So I usually got a lot going on, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So this is number 5 out of the series. Hey, Stacy, good to see you. How's that Dirty Jeans course going, huh? You get access to it, I hope. And we've got new winners today, which I'll announce a bit later for the Dirty Jeans course bundle. So today we're talking about a gene which rapidly gets rid of your dopamine, which as human beings, we conserve our dopamine. We conserve our dopamine so much that we will become lazy, or that we'll fight for conserving food and protecting it from other people. So dopamine is a very valuable thing. We'll actually have addictive behaviors. We'll smoke, we'll drink, we'll gamble, we'll excessively shop, we'll use our damn cell phones nonstop because the dinging is spiking our dopamine every time. So if you have genes which speed up the clearance of your dopamine, there are benefits to it, but there's detriments too. And before we get too much into all these things, I want to, say again, thanks for being here. And Sandra, you already finished the course? Holy cow, you're quick. You're quick. Fantastic. Kristen, hello from Nebraska. I've never been there. So I'm picturing flat and corn. There's got to be something toward Nebraska that's different than flat and corn. I mean, you live there. There's got to be something wonderful. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I'm my pride of the mountains and the oceans and the earthquakes. It's all good. It's a lovely place over here. Wyoming, haven't been there either. Colorado, I've been there. Fantastic place. We live in a phenomenal country. We are very lucky, very lucky. Before I get too much further, also, I don't know if you saw my post just below, but if you go to your cell phone, you have this screen, right? See that? This is the new Apple iOS update. So see I have a line through the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi? Before, if you just push those things, they would turn off. But now you actually have to go to your settings to do that. You actually have to go to your settings for the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to turn these damn things off. So as I was working yesterday, I was getting progressively fatigued, which is normal, but I don't ever get headaches, and I was progressively getting a headache. And about 3:30, I had to call it quits. And so this update I've had on my phone for about a week. So this wasn't an instant thing. It was a week thing. And finally, it dawned on me that my Wi-Fi and my Bluetooth was on all day long. My computer is on Ethernet cable. I don't use that Wi-Fi. Bluetooth isn't on. Even though I have an Oura Ring, I only use the Bluetooth on periodically. And I was susceptible to the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth because it was on 12 hours a day for the last week. Plus, when I had my surgery at the Schuldeis Clinic, I was taking Tylenol, which, remember, is one dose depletes your body's glutathione. And glutathione is your protector for your brain. So I was depleted in glutathione, and I was getting hammered with the Wi-Fi. So I took glutathione this morning, and immediately I felt great. And within about 20 minutes, I felt a little bit worse again. So I took another dose of glutathione, which is usually really rare for me. And I'm good. I'm good to go. So note that about your iOS update 11 version for your iPhones, which many of us have. Turn off the damn Wi-Fi and turn off the Bluetooth unless you need it. I use Bluetooth for streaming music. I use Wi-Fi for things too, but 12-hour exposure over a period of a week plus glutathione depletion, yeah, I got a headache. So that's an example of dirty genes and how you clean up dirty genes right there. And another book I'm reading. Are you ready? You ready? Here we go. Don't ban me for this. An orange cover. What is it? Anybody know? Anybody know what this book is? Come on. This sucker's sold over 1 million copies already. It's been out a year. What do you think? Anybody know? Who's read it? This is all the hint I'm giving you. A little more. Mark, Manson, Cinnamon, you're right. What'd you think? What'd you think, Cinnamon? You like it? Ta-da! Bulletproof, no. Good guess, though. But no. This is a really good book. And it's a good book because we're always taught to push and to really try to succeed in life, which is great. But if you push and you try to succeed and make everyone happy, what's going to happen to your genes? You're going to wear out, you're going to burn out. So you have to know what you really care about in life, and you have to worry about things which you don't give up about in life because it's just depleting, right? And if you have a fast COMT gene and you're burning through your dopamine and you're giving up about everything, then you're going to be tired and wasted and pissed off and not thriving in life. So that's it for today. That's it. No. But that's actually, Mark Manson is spot on. I think it's a really phenomenal book and it's hilarious. But I will say he does get vulgar, and shockingly so. But anyway, but combine that with Dirty Genes, I think it's a phenomenal combination. So prioritize, Don, you hit it on the head. So see, you could have written that book with your fast COMT. Nice, Marie. Fast COMT. So what do you think will happen if your dopamine is getting burned out quickly from this gene, right? So if you know that COMT's job is to eliminate your dopamine and your norepinephrine, but it does it too fast, what do you think can happen? What can happen with a low dopamine? I've already said a few things, but if you just joined us, I'd like to see you guys get this. Lori, Finnish Essentialism, fantastic, great read. So what do you think will happen if your COMT gene is working too quickly and it's eliminating your dopamine? A fast COMT, good question. A fast COMT is a minus. A fast COMT is when there is no sign of a polymorphism. But a fast COMT can also be a plus. It all depends on you. And that is why you do not need genetic testing with the book Dirty Genes. You take a quiz to find out if you have a fast COMT. You don't do a genetic test because a genetic test shows you what you're born with. It doesn't show you the activity of that gene. It's the activity that matters. It's not what you're born with that matters. And that's the key. That's the key. So depression, addiction, right? Always irritated. I would say a very high level of dopamine can increase irritation. A high level of serotonin can increase irritation. A low level of dopamine could possibly increase irritation, but I would say it would more likely increase frustration rather than irritation. They are similar, but emotions and feelings they're tough. But I would say that a low dopamine would be more frustration because you're frustrated that you can't focus. You're frustrated that you're feeling blue and depressed. You're frustrated that you have no drive to get up and do things. Addiction, depression, lack of, no pleasure, Patrick. That's pretty, that's harsh. I would say a lower degree of pleasure, for sure. I would definitely say that. Marie, nice. Not giving a, right. Well said. Yeah, that's true. But I would also say maybe giving too many as well. That's a tough one. And now in women, and men too, men also have estrogen. Sorry, men, but yes, we have estrogen as well. If women have a fast COMT gene, it doesn't have to be, you could be born with a COMT minus, meaning it's fast, or it can just be fast because you're not eating sufficient protein or other things. And let me show this here a little bit. I'm a little scattered today, sorry. So this is my son. So see how he's COMT minus minus right there for both? That would mean genetically, my son is predisposed to moving his dopamine out quickly. Genetically susceptible. Doesn't mean he is, it means he is genetically susceptible. So that's the big difference. Sorry, I didn't turn this off. But if a woman is burning through her estrogen quickly, what could that mean? So for a woman, Teresa, you would know if it's fast or slow by taking the quiz. We have a link above in the Facebook post here, and you do this quiz, and you can. It's a brief little questionnaire that you do to see which gene is dirty for you, and then how you can clean it up, and gives you pointers. So you select one. And then when you get your results emailed to you, it shows you which all the other genes are too, and it gives you pointers. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple. So what do you think will happen for a woman who has too fast of estrogen? What does estrogen do? What would happen to a woman's menstruation if her estrogen levels are too low? What do you think? I would say that if a woman has lower estrogen levels, she might not even have menses. You know, she might not even be menstruating, or her menses might be really light or very irregular. So that's one. Also, her skin could be not very nice. Her skin can be not looking very good. Her bones can be brittle. Low estrogens, you've got to have good amount of estrogen for bones. I mean, look what happens to women when they get older. What happens? One, their bones get weaker because their estrogen levels drop. And two, lead comes out of their bones and causes them cardiovascular disorders and dementia and so on, because as the bones get weaker, the lead comes out because lead is stored in your bones. So, a fast COMT has some negative issues, but you also have benefits too, because you don't want to have too much estrogen floating around. So it's all a balance. But when you know these things, it's very powerful to understand that if you have a light menses, or you're late, or you're not having any menses at all, and you look at your genetic report and it says you're COMT minus minus, well, maybe you need to do something to support that, and we'll get into that here in a moment. So hopefully that's helpful to you guys. How do you know if you process estrogen fast? Again, questionnaires can be really good. A doctor who understands the basics of hormones. I'm no hormone expert. I'm the first to say that. But you can get a hormone test from a company called Dutch Test. They're in Portland, Oregon. They're phenomenal. And they look at your estrogen levels. They look at how fast you're processing estrogen. They look at your healthy estrogens and your harmful estrogens. So it's a very valuable test. And it's urine. It's super easy. It's super easy in terms of collecting it, but it's also a bit of a hassle, because I think there's 5 parts that you have to do in order to get a full kit. So low estrogen is a potential consequence of someone's faster COMT. So, and if you just joined us, we're talking about a gene which increases our susceptibility to have lower dopamine levels and lower estrogen levels, but you can do things about it to support that and optimize your function. So, and if you want to win to Dirty Genes, copy of Dirty Genes, or the Dirty Genes course bundle, which some of you have already won. Congratulations. I think, 8 people have already won now. So you just like this post, tag 3 friends below in the comments, and leave a comment, and you'll be entered to win. And I will announce one winner right now. Who is that? Who is it? Do we get any men this time? Dun, dun. Yes, we do. Look at that. Our first ever male winner, Sam Ivich, and of course another female, Lisa Deptula. So Lisa Deptula and Sam Ivich, congratulations, you have won a copy of Dirty Genes that is corrected, not full of spelling errors, and the Dirty Genes course bundle, a phenomenal asset to you your loved ones, your friends, and yourself. So congratulations. PCOS, Tammy. PCOS would be a symptom of someone who has a slower COMT. If you have higher estrogen levels, then you're susceptible to PCOS. And if you want to learn about a slow COMT, we discussed this in a different Facebook Live group. My team just texted me as well. Sean just texted me that if you go to Dirty Jeans, let me make sure here. Sean, if you're listening, give me the, okay, there it is, go.drlynch.com. So these are all the Facebook Live recaps. So we got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3. So all the Facebook things are on here, all the Facebook recordings. So you can watch them at your pleasure whenever you want in one easy place. So I think, let me try this. Hang on one second. No. Bear with me here. No. I'll put the link later for you guys because that didn't work. Didn't work. Okay, so if you've got a fast COMT gene, a common symptom could also be inattention and lack of focus. And I'm kind of that way right now, and maybe because I didn't eat enough protein. And protein supports your dopamine levels. So if you're consuming a massive amount of protein, then you might not even be aware that you have inattention and lack of focus or low estrogen or signs of depression because your dopamine levels are possibly could be fine. It's not only protein, of course, but it's a big factor. And let me show you why. So here's your dopamine and here's your tyrosine. So you see that? So here's tyrosine, and then tyrosine goes to make L-DOPA, and then L-DOPA goes to make your dopamine, and your dopamine gets burned up by your COMT gene right here. And if it's working too fast, your dopamine here gets sucked out. Okay, it's like a drain; it just goes right through. So you can take your tyrosine via protein meals in order to increase your dopamine. So if you have lower estrogen levels, if you have lack of focus, if you're kind of blue or have an addictive personality, try some protein. Try some protein. But what's the first thing that we do when we have these feelings? We go to sugar, which then causes you to crash. And then that you have this constant issue. And so you've got to hit the protein to get your moods balanced. And there's a research paper that talked about this years ago. I presented this at a 2013 conference, where if you have a solid protein breakfast, you can have a consistent mood throughout the day. So comment below if you do not eat protein for breakfast and you have mood swings throughout the day, or also state that, hey, I have sufficient protein in the morning, and when I do that, now that you mention it, yeah, I feel pretty consistent throughout the day. Yeah, around 2 or 3 o'clock, I start to wane. But if I have more protein, then I'm good. Now, the opposite can be true. If you have too much protein, you can be too crazy. And we talked about that last week with the slow COMT, so I'm not going to go there. So that protein is a very, very good thing to do. And in the book, Dirty Genes, I have recipes as well, which show you how you should eat based upon your genetic results of your quiz. And I don't know where that is in here, but see, let me show you here some quiz questions. So you're wondering, right, if you know how to figure this out. So I have questionnaires in here. So the questionnaires in the book teach you if your genes are working fast or not, because just a genetic test itself isn't useful. Genetic test just shows you what your genes are. It's described, but it doesn't show you how they're expressing. So you really need to know real time what's going on. So, because are you depressed every single day? I hope not. Are you inattentive every single day? No, there's moments that you're inattentive and not focused. There's moments that you have depression, and there's moments and maybe some months where you have lighter menses than other months. Other months you're probably okay. So your genes are adapting to what you're giving them, right? The tools that you're giving them. So let's see some questions here. Lisa, thanks for sharing and tagging 3 friends. Appreciate that. Yeah, menopause, lower estrogen levels. During menopause, you might see more brittle bones. You might see blood pressure increases. You might see more vaginal dryness. So, because estrogen is related to vaginal secretions as well. They do make suppositories to help with vaginal dryness. I know it's a sensitive topic, but it's a big deal. It's a big problem. So estrogen-based vaginal suppositories can be very, very important for some women post-menopause. Estrogen fluctuations trigger migraines. Yes, for sure. Good call, for sure. What to do for low estrogen? Well, for low estrogen, you got to eat more protein. You have to make more protein, and you need to calm down. Because if you have tremendous amounts of stress, what's happening, well, protein and fat, because you need to have sufficient cholesterol, because cholesterol makes your hormones. So if you have low estrogen, then you can eat protein to provide in the tyrosine that's dopamine, but you also need to eat fat for the estrogens. So cholesterol, but healthy cholesterol and not too much. And then what that'll do is that will provide the building blocks for your estrogen. But the problem is, if you're stressed out, that's cholesterol will go to making your cortisol. And then your cortisol will take all your cholesterol, or a lot of it, and leave your estrogen in the dumps. So a great way to help raise your cholesterol is by calming down. And you can calm down by not, right? by worrying less about certain things. So that's an important thing that you should consider. And again, you can test for it as well. DHEA is a common compound too that someone would use. Maca root as well, that you can use also. Jennifer, your COMT shows Val. What does that mean? That means that it is a faster COMT gene. A Val COMT is a faster COMT gene. Genetically, doesn't mean it's fast right now. Genetically, it's fast. Minus people, do minus COMT people need to worry about this? Yes, the minus COMT people absolutely need to worry about this. So if you're COMT minus or COMT Val, remember, here's my kid's genetic report. So he's COMT minus, and the V right there is Val. So the Val is the wild type. So Val is the minus, the M is the met, because V stands for valine, M stands for methionine. The valine's shifted to a methionine. This is science that you do not need to worry about. I just know some of you are geeks and you like knowing this stuff. It doesn't matter. If it's over your head, don't worry about it. But somehow you were born, you've inherited these things. They were selected for over generations, multiple generations, for a good reason, not a negative reason. It's a good thing to have a minus, and it's a good thing to have a plus. The thing is you need to know how to tweak it. That's the magic, which we're teaching you right now. Well, me. I think there's one of me. So you need to understand how these things play out. And if you know how your genes are, then you can tweak. If you don't know how the genes are, you can't tweak. So that's the beauty behind Dirty Genes, is it gives you the insight on the inside of how your genes are functioning, so you know what to do about it. So when you are inattentive, or we are not focused, where you are pissed off, or your menses aren't doing what you want them to do, then you can tweak them. So yes, minus you need to worry about. Susan, you won last week. Fantastic. Email support@dirtygenes.com, and they will help you out. Sam, you're welcome, man. You deserved it. Thanks for your support over the time. Lori, where can you do the quiz online? Up above in the post here, there's a link to the quiz. Sean, Bud, thanks for joining. Glad you're feeling better. If you can post a link to the Dirty Genes Facebook Live recordings, that'd be great. Marie, this extract from the New York Times article summarizes fast COMT brilliantly, I think. People born with the fast-acting enzymes actually need the stress to perform their best. To them, the everyday is underwhelming. It doesn't excite them enough to stimulate the sharpness of mind of which they are capable. They benefit from that surge in dopamine. It raises the level up to optimal. They're like Superman emerging from the phone booth in times of crisis. Their abilities to concentrate and solve problems go up. Yes, beautifully written. Thank you very much. And you're spot on. Now, Daniel Amen, he's MD, and he's written tons of books about ADHD and the brain and all that. And he said in his book, if you have a child with ADHD, what you're going to see is you're going to see them being yelled at more in your home because they're not focused. They're screwing around, they're inattentive, they're bored, and they're going to get yelled at. The problem is when you yell at them, just as Marie shared from that New York Times article, what happens when you yell at somebody? Their dopamine goes up. So indirectly, they get this rush of dopamine, and nobody likes to get yelled at. I mean, when my parents told me that, I was like, oh, you're getting negative attention. No, I don't like negative attention, but unconsciously, they seek it because they felt better from getting yelled at. So that's a very powerful thing to think about and to understand. So next time you're screaming at your kid, which, if you don't do that, my hat's off to you. But I get pissed off at my kids at times, and my children with the fast COMT, they benefit from it. And what is the other thing you see with fast COMT kids? They like to tease, they like to nitpick, they like to bully. Because what happens if they're bullying or nitpicking or teasing other kids, what happens? There's some retaliation going on, or they get in trouble, or they get, the person that they're beating up, they feel better, or the person that's fighting them or getting mad at them back for it, they feel better. So this teasing and this nitpicking, I see it in my own home with my kids. My kids with the fast COMT gene, they're bugging each other constantly. My middle boy, Matthew, he's like me. His dopamine levels are high. He doesn't tease his other brothers nearly as much as the ones who have the fast COMT. So it's a big deal. And so that's a great thing. And so during times of crisis, I think having a fast COMT gene is very favorable. I mean, would you want to have a surgeon during the time of crisis who freaks out and says, oh God, what am I going to do? But they're calm and collected during times of crisis. I could not be an ER doc. No way. I'd freak out. But I'd be interesting to look at a study and see how many ER docs are COMT minus, because they have that constant flood of adrenaline. They have case after case that requires emergent care, and they have to perform at the top their best every single day. I bet you a lot of emergency room docs and nurses have a faster COMT gene. So if you are ER doc or ER nurse, comment below and let us know if my theory is right there. So what about vegans? Megan, great question. There is protein in the world of vegetarianism and veganism. I did not know that when I was a vegetarian for 2 years. I was pretty much a carbitarian, and I felt horrible. You can get tyrosine from grains like quinoa, beans, nuts, seeds. These are fantastic. Some vegetables have some protein as well. Eggs are great if you're not a vegan. Eggs are the perfect protein, actually. And milks are really good as well if you drink milk. So, and cheeses, they're not protein, but they're fat for the cholesterol, for your estrogen. So, great question. I do know a lot of vegans and vegetarians who were my past patients who were struggling. They struggled with fertility. They struggled with brain fog. Their health was not good. They were athletes and they were competing and they weren't doing well. In fact, they didn't have menses. If they were women, they just flat out lost their menstrual cycle. They were undernourished. Your body is not going to put you through menses if you are undernourished, and you should be having menses. So if your child or you are not going through menstruation, and you should be, then you are probably undernourished and your body is protecting you from having that menses. The last thing that you want to do is go to the doctor and have them say, oh, here's, take some hormones to stimulate the menstrual cycle. No, you boost them up naturally. And I've had patient after patient like this. I supported them nutritionally and they had their menses just fine. Jennifer, you can't eat eggs, so you're kind of stuck for breakfast protein. Great comment. I love this comment. You can't eat eggs, so you're kind of stuck for breakfast protein. Do you think our ancestors from thousands of years ago had waffles, orange juice, toast, bacon, and eggs, and cereals for breakfast every day? Was that their regimen? We have this mindset of what we should eat for breakfast. And we think it should be eggs, pancakes, waffles, bacon, sausage, juices, whatever, society has taught us as the norm. But it's BS. Breakfast stands for break fast. You're breaking the fast. You can have beets for breakfast. You can have beef for breakfast. You can have whatever you want for breakfast. So I just shifted this mindset the other day because I realized I didn't feel well from an egg I ate. I don't know if it was a crappy egg or what, but I started to notice I'm a little bit more tired than I should be from eating eggs. But a buddy of mine, Mike Mutzel of High Intensity Health, he's got a gazillion chickens, and we're getting eggs from him now. Thanks, Mike. And I'm using his eggs, and I had eggs the other day, and I felt fine. But don't worry about it if it being breakfast friendly. Have soup, have stew. So what? So that's my feeling about all that. So excessive protein to maintain focus throughout the day and just before bed. I have to have protein throughout the day. My COMT gene is pretty fast, but I also have MTHFR. I am a high protein person. My blood type is type O. Dr. Peter Diadamo, Eat Right for Your Type. He talks about all these blood type diets, and they are very informative. So I'm not an expert on that, but you can learn your blood type. Type A is supposedly vegetarianism, I believe. But yeah, I do well from a higher protein diet. So, but if you're a slow COMT, be careful. If you're COMT++ or COMT MET, careful with high protein. So let me show you some supplements that you can use to support a fast COMT. And my oldest just came home, and so because I'm home now because my office is being remodeled. So yeah, I'm a little bit constrained for privacy. But so I rated his drawer and where he keeps it, all right? Here it is. Tyrosine 500 milligrams. Love you, Taz. He says, look at, there's no cap. There's no cap. He forgot to put the capsule on his tyrosine, and there's no capsule and there's no cap in the drawer. I find that hilarious. So you take tyrosine to increase focus and attention, but maybe it was taken too late, or it didn't kick in quite yet because there's no cap. Yeah. I pick on them too much. But hey, it's real, right? It's real. So if you have inability to focus, tyrosine 500 milligrams is a game changer. It's phenomenal. Okay, it's super cheap, it's super effective, and it kicks in that dopamine like that. Did you know that most children who are in higher level Ivy League schools are taking some type of neurostimulants like methamphetamines or some type of drugs to keep performing at a high level? That's nonsense. I think it was 95% of Ivy League students are consuming some type of neuroenhancement drug or supplement to maintain their focus and attention. That's shocking. That's shocking. But I will say there's nothing wrong with wanting to desire, focus and attention. But I think if you're using methamphetamines or Ritalin, illegally or even legally, I think that's an issue. So I think, I know a lot of COMT minus or a lot of COMT fast individuals are on Ritalin. They could be spending about, I don't know, this bottle I think is $10, $9.95 or something ridiculous. It's cheap. There's 100 capsules in here, and at 2 a day, that's 50 servings, right? That's more than a month's supply at $10 for tyrosine compared to an expensive neurodegenerative drug of Ritalin. There are side effects for it. Yes, it can be beneficial for some people, but long-term it is not good. If you listen to the COMT slow conversation we had last week, I talked about dopamine quinone, and it's not good. And in case you just joined us again, please comment below. Don't be shy. Introduce yourself. Ask your questions. This is a very supportive community. Thank you for that. Keeping it real, everybody, and supporting each other. This is a learning environment. I learn from you. You learn from me. It's a great win-win. But tag 3 friends who you know who are struggling from ADD or struggling from depression or struggling from not being able to focus or get stuff done. Focus from inability to focus. And also addictive personalities, gambling, shopping, drugs, alcohol, smoking, all of these things increase the desire to raise your dopamine and doing it in ways that you shouldn't. And I teach you in Dirty Genes how to move away from that through lifestyle, diet, environment, mindset, and through supplementation. But the supplementation does not start until about page 266, because most of these things can be fixed through diet alone, which is why there's about 25 recipes in here to support how you should eat, and I teach you how to eat. So those who have COMT minus, you need to be eating more protein throughout the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, you have to be eating more protein throughout the day. So if you're inattentive, if you're more depressed, if you have more addictive personalities, then eat more protein throughout the day. And if you can't do that, if you're on the go, then consider tyrosine 500 milligrams. It's very inexpensive, very easy to do. Now, another one is folinic acid. Folinic acid, everybody's talking about methylfolate, but folinic acid is very important for neurotransmitter formation. Dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin. So if you have inability to focus or have addictive personalities, folinic acid is, again, very, very inexpensive, and you can utilize this to increase your neurotransmitters. Another one for focus and attention. If you also have a bit of stress, this is possibly more for those who have a slow COMT, but it can also be used for those who have a fast COMT. I use this one on my youngest son, Theo, and he seems to do pretty well with it. This is L-theanine. L-theanine is very safe, and this one has 100 milligrams per capsule. It's a tiny capsule, and you can utilize that. People who also have a fast COMT gene could tend to have not necessarily, I'm kind of going out on a limb here, but if you don't have enough dopamine, you're lazy, you're couch potato. And that's not a bad thing. It's just kind of who you are, right? And if you wake up in the morning and you can't get out of bed, you've got the lights on, you've got the music blaring, you got the alarm blaring, and nothing can get you out of bed. And there's a couple things there. Your adrenals can be wasted. And that's the cortisol thing. Your cortisol should be high in the morning and low at night. So if your cortisol is low in the morning, you can't pop out of bed in the morning. So again, I'm going on a limb here saying it's associated with fast COMT, COMT minus, but it is one of those similar symptoms. If you lack drive, you lack pleasure, then you can use something called adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex provides the building blocks for your adrenals. There's basically, it's very supportive for norepinephrine and epinephrine with this compound. And this is from a grass-fed source from South America. And so you can ask for the certificate of analyses on all these things. I would not recommend adrenal cortex if you are anxious, irritable, or can pop out of bed in the morning, or you have just excessive emotions. I would be very careful with it. I wouldn't do it. I take that very rarely. And if I take it maybe once, twice, and then I stop. So yeah, it's a bottle of 60 capsules, but this one bottle I probably had, oops, look at that, manufactured in 2015. So yeah, I've had this bottle for a long time, but that's how I use it. I don't use this very often because I know what it can make me feel, but it can be a real game changer for me on those days that I'm really slow. Another one is, and this is the last one, is NADH CoQ10. This is very helpful for people who cannot, again, get out of bed in the morning. You're struggling, and it doesn't give you that prolonged energy that the adrenal cortex gives you, but it gives you quite a bit of energy, and it sustains you it does it on an energetic level rather than a hormone level. Adrenal cortex is a hormone level for energy. That's a good way to look at it. Adrenal cortex is hormone level. NADH is energy nutritional level, because NADH comes from your food, your carbohydrate. So you eat carbs, your body takes those carbs and it converts it into NADH, which then converts into ATP for your energy. So if you have sufficient NADH, then you get energy. But if you wake up in the morning and you have no NADH around because you've fasted for 8 to 10 hours, you haven't had any food, then your NADH levels are low. And if your cortisol levels are low, the cortisol is supposed to stimulate your adrenals to produce the cortisol, to kick in the glucose, to trigger the NADH, to trigger ATP. So if your adrenals are shot, you're not getting the cortisol, you're not getting the NADH, and you're laying there stuck in bed. So that combination of adrenal cortex plus NADH, man, you're going to be on fire. And but again, only take the cortex a couple times. You could do the NADH in the morning. You could do half a lozenge or what have you. I take this very rarely as well. Yeah, see, this one was manufactured in 2014. And these are in my cabinet because I don't take these that often. But I take them on the moments when I'm fatigued. So that's a number of supplements, but I take them only when I need them. Let's answer some questions here. Susan, my tryptophan was low on testing. I do worry about stupid stuff. I have mild depression, not too bad. And knowing I was on COMT, I started taking SAMe at bedtime, and it seems to help me sleep. Now I'm confused. I'm on the age of menopause, so perhaps things are down too much. Good question. Just because you are COMT++ doesn't mean that your genes are acting as a COMT++. And I'm being very generic here. There's 19,000 genes in the human body. We are talking about one. And we talk about one not to put all the blame on this gene of COMT, but to give you an idea of how genes work and how they work in a relation of each other. But we have to start somewhere. I mean, we are being very reductionist, putting all this blame on one gene when there's 19,000 other genes. So Susan, there are other genes absolutely at play with your symptoms, for sure, with all of our symptoms. But we need to understand where to start, okay? So COMT++, you took SAMI at bedtime. It did help you sleep. That's fantastic. That's what it's supposed to do. So that's a good deal. And COMT or SAMI can also support with depression as well. That's also proven. So you can take nutrients like SAMI at night, and you can take nutrients like adrenal cortex or tyrosine in the morning. So if you have an inability to focus during the day, you take the focusing nutrients that we talked about. If you can't sleep at night, you take the can't sleep nutrients that we talked about last week. So it all depends, right? It's a day-to-day, hour-by-hour thing. Why would testosterone be high with all that you said, Jennifer? That's can be related to PCOS. That's also a whole different animal. I'm not going to go there. Sorry. Stacy, if you have a CBS mutation and a fast COMT, what is the best way to balance the protein to keep the ammonia and homocysteine in check? Okay, so yeah, Stacy, and the other question again, we're talking about two genes. We have to focus on understanding how genes work together. So I teach poor health professionals how to interpret all of this in combination with this pathway, in combination with other pathways. They're all interconnected. So there's about 100 genes, maybe 200 genes that I teach health professionals how they all communicate with each other and how the environment's communicating with them and how their mindset is, and the diet and the lifestyle and nutrient and supplementation and medication. So it's multifaceted. So if you have a CBS mutation and a fast COMT, the best way to balance protein and keep ammonia and homocysteine in check, you have to read dirty genes. So reading dirty genes will provide the insight that goes into, because I talk about how these genes work, and then I build them on each other, and then there's a program at the end. So, but I can't answer that because it's too reductionist. Sorry. Susan, I don't eat breakfast. I don't have mood swings really, but chronic fatigue and low amino acids. So if you have low amino acids and you're not eating breakfast, it's chronic fatigue. I mean, I would look, amino acids are proteins for sure. That could be low stomach acid too. But not eating breakfast isn't a bad thing if you feel good. Not eating breakfast in the morning is a bad thing if you're running out the door and you're hurrying up and not taking care of yourself. I don't eat breakfast sometimes. Sometimes I just access my fat from my waistline, which thankfully there isn't very much there, but there is some, and I use that as my fuel for breakfast. But if I'm starting to not feel good, then I eat. Susie, shared and tagged 3. Thank you. Jennifer, I'm such a calm person. I don't get worked up on other people's problems, but I have such oxidative stress. Then you will want to tune in. Sorry for pointing. You will want to tune in for when we discuss the GST gene. That's the gene that's really, really important for, actually, no, we already did that. Oops. We talked about the glutathione gene. And I'll post the whole Facebook Lives if Sean already hasn't done that. We've already talked about glutathione, so you can learn more about that. It's a phenomenally important gene, for sure. Don, my mom was bipolar. Was this gene dirty? It was difficult being raised by a bipolar parent. It is a horrible disorder. Our genes affect our moods so much. Yes, Don, bipolar is a tough condition. I'm sorry you went through that. And yeah, it is genetic. But yes, the good thing is once you understand how your genes work, you can modify their expression and you can feel quite good, and you can make that bipolar go away. Well, you can maintain it to keep quiet, because it can come roaring back at any time, but as you know, because the genes are ready to not be in your favor. But as long as you go through life understanding how to support your genes, it's good. Bipolar, there's manic, there's depressive, It all depends on which type, but I've helped a number of individuals with bipolar just through diet alone. And that was it. And let me give you a story here. I had a patient come in who was suicidal, and he kept imagining he'd be on a sidewalk in the city, and he kept wanting to step in front of the bus. And this kept going through his head all the time. And then he would that was his very depressive side of him. And then he would get extremely irritable and irate. And he would take dishes and he'd throw them at his wife. I mean, just hurl them, on the wall. He wouldn't hit her, but he would just throw them and they would explode on the wall. And his wife was there with him in the clinic as well. And he goes, his wife was crying. He was not crying, but he was visibly upset. And he goes, what do I do about this? He goes, I can't stand having these feelings of wanting to step in front of the bus. And then I feel horrible when I freak out and I'm throwing plates at my wife. And his wife said, I know he doesn't want to hurt me. He's just out of his freaking mind. What do we do here? So I asked him, what do you eat? And he kind of looked at me. It's like, what in the hell kind of question is that? I want to kill myself and I'm throwing plates at my wife and you're asking me what I eat? So he didn't say that, but yeah, I said, what are you eating? And he goes, nothing. And I said, bull, no, you're eating something. And he said, no, I'm not eating anything. So I just was quiet for a second. And I said, come on, no judgment here. Just tell me what you're eating. Doesn't matter. I need to know what you're eating. And he goes, well, I like cakes, cookies, and donuts. Sugar. I eat sugar. I love sugar. So I was like, oh, all right, cool. Is there anything else? He goes, no. And I said, well, we can fix you. We got a lot of potential here, man. This is great. And I showed him my excitement. And I said, through diet alone, I believe we can get you stable and get you happy and make those visions of stepping in front of that bus gone and you loving and appreciating your wife and going on. And I explained to him how the moods were affected by his sugar and his roller coasters. High sugar diet, high spiking of insulin. High spiking of insulin grabs the sugar out of your blood. Too much, you get reactive hypoglycemia, then you tank. And then when you tank, your norepinephrine and your dopamine just rush back up and to make you're all crazy in order to stimulate the glucose back in your blood again. And then you would consume a bunch more glucose again and you would tank again. So through protein alone, that was my recommendation, only recommendation. I told him how to eat and he came back, I think it was a month or so, I can't remember, but they both came back. We were in the waiting room. They gave me a huge hug, both of them, right in the waiting room. We didn't get back in the clinic room. And they said, I'm good. So through diet alone, you can support serious symptoms alone like that. Not always, but sometimes you can. So always start there. Food is very, very, very powerful, and finding real food is very difficult these days. There were no supplements that I recommended, no drugs that I recommended. 100 comments so far. Fantastic. 130. Fantastic. Another good, Marie, thanks for the article. So Marie, thank you very much. If you look at the comments below, there's a really good article that she shared. Why can some kids handle pressure while others fall apart? This is a fantastic, I haven't read it all, but she shared a blurb, which is really good. Let me share another concept with you. Individuals who have fast COMT do have inattention and lack of focus, yes. But when they are put in stressful environments, as that article that Marie shared describes, when they are put in stressful environments, they can perform very, very well. They're calm, cool, collected, and making the right decisions without being freaked out. So they test really well. So these kids who have inattention during boring routine homework or class time can typically test really well. Now on the flip side, in the slow COMT Facebook Live that we talked about last week, these kids can focus and they're kicking ass in their homework and the day-to-day chores, but then they put a test in front of them, they freak out and they don't test well. So when it comes to the SATs or midterms or finals, they get all wound up. So that's a really important point that I did not bring up last week. So Stacey, again, or Marie, thank you again for sharing that article. So please read that. Again, it's in the comments below. There's a lot of comments in here that are helpful. And again, like we did last week, name a couple things, like 2 or 3 things that has really stood out for you that were like aha moments that describe you or that you want to try or that you have tried that have worked. So if you believe that you have a fast COMT, comment below and share some of the cool things that I've talked about today that you believe can really support you and the others reading them. So do you think the tyrosine supplement will help you? Do you think the NADH or adrenal cortex will pop you out of bed? Do you think eating more protein throughout the day is going to be your trick? Do you think not giving a about everything is going to be your trick? What is going to be your magic things that you're going to be applying? And you know what? It's not magic. The lifestyle and the basics are very, very cool. And let me talk about another addiction while you're doing that. I did briefly. See these things? Phones? Phones are super addictive. And they are shutting down the connection between us all and the connection of ourselves as well. I can't stand these things. I hate them. I like the fact that it serves me a purpose. I like the fact that people can reach me. I like the fact that I can share comments with you all on my Facebook from my phone. But they really piss me off when I get addicted to the damn thing and I'm not focused on myself and the awareness around me and what's going on around me, or when I'm communicating with my kids and they're on the fucking thing and they're not listening to me, they're not hearing me, or they're not going outside and enjoying nature. So these phones are the scourge of society. I can't stand them, but they're super addictive. They're super addictive. You look at Instagram, the damn thing never ends. It just goes forever. So all these apps, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, these threads, they never end, right? YouTube automatically loads a new video. So you could sit there and completely veg out. And then what happens when you pull the electronic away? I see it all the time with myself and with my kids and with others. They're in some kind of cloud. They can't even think anymore. They've forgotten how to interact with themselves, and they've forgotten how to interact with their surroundings and others because they've been on a screen that's interacting through them passively. The screen is telling them what to do instead of making up their own damn mind. They're using the mind of the machine. So yeah, I can't stand them. I can't stand them. And so yeah, I'm the bad dad that is constantly getting mad at his kids for using the electronics too fast. Because I want to support my kids and have electronics, but I also want them to understand that these things are very toxic, not to themselves, just to the Wi-Fi and the EMF, but toxic with their own understanding. Because at night, did you know that sleeping at night is defragging your brain? Sleeping at night, deep sleep is the time in which your brain is clearing out all that gunk and all the garbage. And that is very, very useful. So just through healthy sleep can really reduce your risk for Alzheimer's. And Dr. Dale Bredesen wrote a book now, End of Alzheimer's. It's on Amazon. You can get it, today, and have it shipped out. I wish the same for Dirty Jeans. We got to wait for January 30th. But Dale Bredesen's book is out, The End of Alzheimer's. Great lifestyle tricks in there to keep a reduction of Alzheimer's. But my point is, sleep is very important. And if you're staring at a screen because of fast COMT, your addictive personality, they're a bad deal. All right. Would tyrosine be a good option for any ADHD kiddo? Great question, Stacy. I would say tyrosine would definitely be a great start for kids with ADHD, especially if they're not eating protein. If the child is not eating protein very much, or they're a finicky eater, they're not giving much calories, and they're COMT minus on the genetic test, or if you don't know, then you can try tyrosine, yes. I would consider tyrosine for sure. it's a pretty safe bet that they will do better. Unfortunately, tyrosine 500 milligrams is the common amount here, like this one, tyrosine 500 milligrams. I created a tyrosine 50 milligram. So if you hurry, it's still on seekinghealth.com. It's on closeout because it didn't sell very well. But we have 50 milligrams of tyrosine in a lozenge that kids can suck on. It's tart, it tastes good, but it's a safe way to find the right dose for tyrosine, because if you take too much tyrosine, you become irritable and crazy and cranky, and sweaty and insomniac. So that's no fun. So look for a tyrosine 100 milligram, but they're hard to find. But Seeking Health, we have them. But I might make it again. I might not. If there's enough support, we'll make it. But they're sitting on the shelves and going to expire. So my CEO was like, Ben, you can't make it anymore. And I was bummed. But it was my fault because I didn't teach people how to use it. Geraldine, you mentioned the link for the dopamine quinone last week. Maybe. Thanks, Tim, for linking the tyrosine. Appreciate it. I don't remember, Geraldine. Sorry. Just Google it, dopamine quinone, and there's all sorts of information there too. Elena, I'd like to know information about tyrosine for children too. Tim, do we still have the 50 milligram lozenges available at Seeking Health? We do have tyrosine on sale, he says, and it's double the reward points right now at Seeking Health. And yeah, tyrosine is usually in thyroid support supplements. You're right, because tyrosine does support thyroid, and it also supports your dopamine. Tyrosine, not long-term. My oldest has been taking tyrosine almost every day now for 2 years. So, he'll probably be taking it the rest of his life. But he is also not eating much protein. I'm trying to get him to eat more protein, and he's starting to lift weights, so maybe he will do that. But until you get sufficient protein in your diet, yeah, you'll probably be on tyrosine your whole life if you have a faster COMT gene. Jean-Marc, since 23andMe is not providing mouse SNPs but only COMT, how to fully assess neurotransmitters? Or is COMT the only one which really matters? No, you're right. They do work in tandem for sure. It's called haplotypes. If you look at the combination, and I discuss haplotypes in Dirty Genes, if you have MTHFR slow, MAOA slow, and COMT slow, man, you're going to be pretty super focused and pretty spot on in terms of being triggered easily. And insomnia. If you have a fast MTHFR, normal wild type, and you have a faster MAO, which we'll discuss here in a week or two, or you have a fast COMT, then your dopamine is just going to be flying out, and you're going to be totally spacey and lazy and not driven unless you eat a lot of folate-containing foods and a lot of protein-containing foods. So yeah, these genes definitely work together. Susan, yeah, wake up and can't get out of bed. Adrenal cortex might be your friend. Love theanine, fantastic. Yeah, it doesn't do much for me. Are recommendations for fast COMT the same as those, for fast MAOA? No, they are not. They are not the same. Fast MAOA we'll talk about in a week or so, but they are different. If you look, this is the Stratagene report that I built out. So this is Stratagene. You can learn more about this at stratagene.org. And stratagene.org, you can look at your various genes as these guys have asked. But MAOA is, I'm going to show you here in a second what I mean by haplotypes. Oh, we're at 1 hour and 4 minutes already. Jeez. So you see how you have COMT here, MAOA here, MAOA here, MAOA here. So, these genes definitely are all working together. So, and there's a SNP also in DDC and DBH and PNMT. So all these, you need to know. And then there's dopamine transport. Again, we're talking one gene out of 19,000, but it definitely gives you a place to start and take action. So, and in the book Dirty Genes, we talk about 7 genes, and every one of these genes are playing a significant role in your biochemistry and your physiology. And as Farhan brought up, COMT and MAOA are very, very important, as you just saw in that pathway too. So that's why I discussed both MAOA and COMT in this book, Dirty Genes, because they work together. And I talk about that as well in here. Let's see. Ubiquinol version works best. Robert, yeah, ubiquinol version does work best in some individuals. Some people who have NQ01 variants do need more of the ubiquinol. A lot of individuals do use ubiquinone also successfully and useful for them as well. The problem is you can't always get an all form in a supplement because it needs a fat to be carried. So in ADH plus CoQ10, we have the, where is it? Just says coenzyme Q10. That's not good. We need to specify, but I'm pretty sure it's ubiquinone in this one because we can't get it in powdered form from this supplier. There is one thing you should know why we don't use the ubiquinol form in our supplements unless we can get it from a very specific manufacturer. We have multiple manufacturers for Seeking Health, not just one. So we have a liposomal CoQ10 that has ubiquinol, but some of our capsule supplements use ubiquinone. It's because the powdered ubiquinol has other ingredients you don't see, like polysorbate 80, and we don't want that. So most supplement companies don't tell you that, but we see that there is dirt in these good forms of nutrients. So you look at the labels and you're like, oh yeah, that's got ubiquinol, that's great. But what they don't show you is the polysorbate 80 and the solvents used in order to make them. So we do our due diligence for you. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here soon. Robert, you're thinking of a big steak and a 3 ounce and you are good to go. Yeah, Dr. Food, I nicknamed this guy. He's always talking about food, but food is medicine. And grab your copy of Dirty Genes today. It's on Amazon, pre-order it. And I highly recommend that you pre-order on dirtygenes.com, because if you pre-order on dirtygenes.com, you are going to get a Dirty Genes course if you choose the course option, or you're going to get a where to start option. If you're brand new to all this, you're going to want the where to start bundle for $27, which includes the book and where to start, which is 2 video courses and a bonus chapter, which I wrote too much. My publishers didn't let me put it in here, but it's a phenomenal chapter, the ABCs of Dirty Genes. And then you can also choose the Dirty Genes course bundle, which is the Where to Start course plus the Dirty Genes course, plus the bonus chapter, plus discounts at Seeking Health, plus other great, cool things like the book itself. So I hope that serves you well. Again, enter to win for next time to win the Dirty Genes course bundle, that $57 value currently, but after the book goes on, it's going to be much more than that. But right now it's at $57. Tag 3 friends who think that can benefit from this. Give us a like and share your comments below, and share again, if you haven't already, share the things which you believe that you just learned, which will enhance your fast COMT. And next time we'll probably be discussing the monoamine oxidase gene, which has to do with your serotonin and melatonin. So until then, take care and work on the subtle art of not giving about everything. Pick your battles and let the other ones go. All right, take care. Bye-bye.